Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. In this short video I want to show you how I design custom coils and springs in Autodesk Fusion, because sometimes Fusion's coil feature is simply not enough. For my first example I want to create this barrel-shaped spring. I start by creating a coil. I select the top plane and sketch a circle. I want to specify the height and pitch, but first I enter a final diameter, which is significantly smaller than the custom coil I ultimately want to create. I set the desired height and make sure I use a square section. Then I reduce the section size before setting the pitch value. After finishing the coil, I switch to the Surface tab and create a ruled surface. I select the upper outer edge of the coil and set a distance that exceeds the coil I actually want to create. Here I have to check alternate face to have the correct reference chosen. I hit OK, and before continuing, I remove the coil to keep my model clean. Now I have a slight problem. I want my custom coil center line to start at the top plane, but the face I've just created starts half the previous section size above the plane. So I select Move Copy and translate the surface body minus half the section size in the Z direction. Now everything looks fine. I hide the body before continuing with a sketch on a front plane. I now want to sketch the profile of the barrel I have in mind. I start with an axis and add a construction rectangle. Then I use the line tool to sketch the actual profile. I create the middle arc by clicking and dragging using the left mouse button. I add a tangent constraint and several dimensions to fully constrain my sketch. The height of the profile is the same I've set for the initial coil. After finishing the sketch, I select Revolve from the Surface tab. What I want as a guide curve for my barrel coil is the intersection of these two faces. As Fusion does not offer this directly, I select Split Body. I want to split the coil face using the barrel as a splitting tool. Then I remove the outer one of the resulting faces as well as the barrel face. I have created my guide curve as the outer edge of this surface body and switch back to the Solid tab. If I want a circular section of my coil, I can use the pipe feature to create it. I uncheck chain selection and select all three outer edges before setting the section size and hitting OK. I now can remove the surface body and have finished my barrel-shaped coil. If you find my content helpful or are excited for the next more advanced custom coil example, feel free to like and subscribe. Also, join my community to exchange ideas about or solutions to your design problems. Link in the description. Let's get to the more advanced example. I delete the last 6 elements of my design history to go back to when I had just sketched the barrel section. Now I want to keep the barrel type shape, but have the coil follow a rounded triangular shape. Also, ultimately, I will use a rectangular section for this coil. I first sketch the triangular base on a top plane. For that, I first project the lowest point of the barrel sketch. Then I create the triangle as a circumscribed polygon. Unfortunately, this feature does not set constraints very well, so I have to add some. Then I fillet the edges of the triangle. I want to have the same radius for all fillets. So after creating them, I double-click on the value, and instead of entering a value, I just click the first radius dimension. Again, I notice that there are some constraints missing, and I add them to recreate a regular triangle. Then I finish the sketch. I switch to the Surface tab and create the sweeping. Single path will work fine here. As profile, I select the barrel sketch, and as path, the triangular sketch I have just created. Now this resulting surface body will be the reference for my coil center line. I hide the sketch and show the coil surface. As before, I choose Split Body and split the coil surface using my reference surface. Then I remove the bodies I don't need anymore. Back in the Solid tab, I first create another round section coil. Only now there are really many outer edges to select without using chain selection. So I recheck chain selection, which leads to selecting all edges of the body. Then I uncheck chain selection again and unselect all edges I do not want to use, while holding the Control key. I hit OK and remove the surface body. I finished my quite unique coil. If I, in addition, want to use a custom section for the wire, I have to create the profile in a new sketch. I delete the last 2 items in my timeline and create the sketch on the front plane. Here I again project the starting point of the barrel sketch. Then I add a rectangle centered on this point and set suitable dimensions before finishing the sketch. Then I do a sweeping to extrude the profile I've just sketched along the outer coil edge. As before, I use the strategy to first select all edges with chain selection activated before unchecking chain selection and deselecting the inner edges. Now we can clearly see that using a single path gives a somewhat interesting but unexpected result. I want to always keep the rectangular profile horizontally oriented instead. To achieve this, I select the Path and Guide Surface option. Then I select the coil surface body as guide surface. After some time for calculations, Fusion gives the result I was going for. The resulting body may consist of a large number of faces, but the model is still perfectly smooth. If I want, I can choose a visual style without edges to make the result appear simpler. I hope you have enjoyed this video and found it interesting. Again, feel free to like, subscribe and join, link in the description. I also love hearing from you in the comments. Have a great time designing and prototyping.